I hate, right? This is my pet peeve. When we're watching a show, a movie, and someone says, I just want you to be happy. It's just, that's not life. Life is a journey, highs, lows, good, bad, all of it together. And I want to embrace every bit of it. How do we enjoy the highs? How do we manage and deal with the lows? Welcome to Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. I'm Dr. Greg Smalley.
And I'm Erin Smalley. We are so happy to have you with us today, and we're going to start by sharing a comment we recently received.
Hi, I've been listening to a couple of Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage podcasts. I'm really enjoying them so far. I appreciate how you've remembered to recognize God in all the details. Hey, thanks for being real and helping couples understand what marriage really involves.
We appreciate it so much when you guys, our listeners, engage with us. So make sure and leave us a voicemail or an email to tell us what you think of the show. Of course, only if it's positive.
Right.
Just kidding. We also want your feedback because we want to continue improving Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
Yeah, well, I love the comment. It's so appropriate for today's episode because we're going to be talking with 4 young marrieds, all of whom got married here while working at Focus on the Family.
We're going to talk about preparing for marriage, spiritual intimacy, finances, communication styles. And even if you've been married for 10 or 20 years, keep listening because we're going to talk about evergreen issues that show up in everyone's relationships. Later, Greg is going to host a new game show. Ooh,
Right.
You're going to be a game show host?
Thank you.
Called Things You Didn't Think Would Happen. And then we'll answer a listener email question about dealing with some emotional trauma and how that may play into a future marriage.
Yeah, as usual, we've got lots of great content coming your way. Joining us today are Marcella Hudson, Grace Pittman, Alex Seeley, and Ryan Wall. It's a great group. We're going to be covering topics that are in our Ready to Wed resource, which we'll share with you as we get into this conversation.
So all of you got married while you were here working at Focus on the Family, right?
Yep.
Yes. But Marcella, you talk about that Focus had a huge part of your decision to get engaged. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so as a part of my job, I was going to a Resist the Drift conference with the two of you. And my boss encouraged me to invite my now husband, then boyfriend as well, because we had been getting pretty serious. And he was like, well, to make it fun, why don't you bring Noah along? So I did. And we were sitting listening to the two of you talking about how, I believe it was your father, Greg, had started making a list of nice things about his wife. Every time they would fight, he would go add to this list of nice things.
Yeah.
And you encouraged us in the audience to make our own list and share it with each other. So we had some time set aside to
And
go
you
do
couldn't
that.
think of anything.
Oh,
so
yeah, it was really hard.
Actually, probably the opposite.
No, it was the opposite. I mean,
Yeah.
we were dating, having a great time. And so I had a huge, long list. And we took the time to share it with each other. And it led to a really deep conversation where we realized really that the only reason we hadn't moved forward in our relationship yet was just because of our preconceived notions that we should wait such and such months before we considered something like that. And we realized that we really felt that getting married was inevitable. And so we didn't see why we were waiting, and we felt like God was really moving in our hearts and pushing us to do it. So we started praying and had conversations with our parents and started planning for the next season then.
I love it.
I've never heard that story. I love that.
Yeah. Usually people don't feel helped at all when they come to one of our events. So this is so refreshing.
I think it's usually
Go to
nap
Resist the
time.
Drift,
At least
everybody.
my parts. Aaron's very helpful. So Alex, as you look back kind of on that preparation season, so before you guys got married, what's something that really stands out now that you look back and go, oof, I'm really glad that we did this?
2 things. One is my family, my wonderful, her in-laws, my family, placed upon us early on in our married life a crisis, which was our marriage date. The day we were going to get married, we had chosen a date, and my family had a conflict. So the conflict was related to my siblings' school, choir performances. And there was this crossroads where my whole life my parents have told me, hey, when the time comes, you're with your wife. And
In other words, she's the priority. You be loyal to her.
correct.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
I talked to Megan, and Megan
That's good
said,
advice.
I want that date. It's a really special date. I did the work for the venue. I want that. And so I had to do the hard work of saying no to my family and saying, we have to have the date that my wife wants, and I want it because she wants it. It's not that she's bullying me. It's like, we want to do it. And it was a lot of unexpected conflict. So we had to draw the boundary early on. Hey, in-laws. Hey, my family. It's me and Megan. And then it's my family that I grew up with. And those are separate entities. And if there's ever a conflict between the two, I will literally always be on the side of my family.
Yeah, which is much easier said than done.
Yeah.
But that intentionality to walk in going, you're my priority. I know that's gonna be hard. We'll figure out the bound. Like we'll walk this out.
Yeah.
But what a great way to begin. What about for the rest of you? What, as you look back on that preparation season, what's something that you learned or did that really made a difference? Grace, do you remember back? I mean, it's been a long time. So
Yeah,
you've
it's
been
all
married a
right.
whole
2 months.
I know.
Oh.
So really stretch your
Yeah.
mind to go back to that time.
I learned so much about myself during the marriage preparation season. Like, I thought I was an extrovert until I met Joseph, and now I'm an introvert. I thought I was a saver until I met Joseph, and now I'm a spender. Like, there were things, the contrast between the two of us really highlighted some things about
Interesting.
myself that I learned. And so entering into conflict, I know we're going to talk about conflict later, but he's an internal processor. I'm a talker. Talk. So learning these things, questions.
You are on the broadcast team, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're good
Yes.
at talking.
But learning these things and counseling beforehand was really helpful.
really
Kind of the
good.
things that we were bringing into the marriage, so that when conflict did come up, we could deal with it a little bit better.
Nice. What about for you, Ryan?
One of the big things I actually owe to my father-in-law that helped me prepare for marriage is
It feels like you're just kissing up.
oh no I'm about to throw him under the bus.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
So he didn't like me that
Are
much.
you sure? Oh, really?
Now we've gotten better. But he didn't like me that much.
What did he not see? What
Oh,
happened?
so much.
Don't ask that question.
This is such a long
Take the rest of the
fight.
program.
Oh yeah, we need to have a counseling session. So he would tell my wife Gabriella things like, "Hey, listen," because he saw a lot of himself in me. Of course, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And so he was looking at like, okay, well, if I wasn't me and I was a worse version of me, what would I do? And so he would tell my wife, then like fiance or or girlfriend, and he would tell her like, okay, hey, listen, I know you're gonna go do this thing with Ryan, but I don't know if Ryan's actually going to like pay attention to you. So here's what I want you to do. I want like whenever something happens, I want you to pay attention to how he reacts. And he would do this like relatively often.
Wow.
To be fair, not horrible advice to give your daughter. It just when you're doing that with a guy who does pay attention, it sets you up for failure. And so one of the great stories was we went to Vienna, me and some friends from Focus. And my wife has this autoimmune disease that she actually developed while we were dating. So that was a fun.
Does he blame you for that?
Yes. My charismatic background.
Full
Yeah.
cause, yes.
He's like, man, this girl was fine, and then he came along. A little bit actually, but we're gonna move past that. And we were getting ready to go to Salzburg, and this was like one of our big like excursions we were gonna do. And the morning of, Gabby just has this massive nosebleed. It's an inflammation-based autoimmune disease, and just has this massive nosebleed. And we're getting ready to leave. It was me and several people. And anyways, and so she is, she's crying because like the nosebleed isn't stopping, and obviously there's blood everywhere, and everyone is like, okay, but we're gonna miss the train. Like we gotta go. And I was like, all right, well guys, you guys go ahead. I'm gonna stay behind, take care of Gabby. Not a problem. Because to me, I don't know, I didn't actually even really stop to consider it. It was just, okay, well, I have a duty. I have a responsibility. So I didn't think like, oh, no, I'm missing Salzburg. I'm like, okay, Gabby needs to be taken care of. Let's do this. And it was a very easy thing for me.
It spoke volumes.
Yeah, and so the entire time leading up to this trip, it was just like, watch how he goes.
Yeah.
He's gonna be up front. He's gonna be talking and walking. He's not gonna be paying attention to you.
Not pay attention to you.
And then
You
this
did the
situation
opposite,
comes
yeah.
up, big crisis. It's this whole thing, And that kind of set the tone for our entire relationship. I didn't have figures in my life that it was all about them and how they felt. And so, it's like, oh, going gets tough, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So for me, it was just natural instinct of, well, I don't want to do that. I want to take care of the people in my life. And so that's just kind of been the entire setup. If there is a conflict of like, well, do I take care of my wife or do I have fun at this thing or do I go do this? I don't know. I don't even miss the other thing. It's like, no, I have a duty. I have a wife. I'm obviously going to side with her over an excursion.
It wouldn't be fun.
You'd be surprised at how many may not make that same choice. But I like within what you're saying, though, and actually it's part of what your father-in-law, I think, was doing a really good job around, is saying, observe him, notice. Because I think that's a big part of dating and being engaged is, are we really watching how people handle us and handle our hearts and how they treat us and really noticing that? Because once we get engaged, it can be really hard to still be objective. And so I really love what he was saying.
Well, and so, Ryan, did you pass?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yes, you got the pass.
Well, so leading
So
up,
he likes you now?
well, we're getting there. We're fine.
Like is a hard word.
Leading up to that trip, Gabriella, my wife, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be like all formal, but she was, she's having thoughts. She's like, maybe he doesn't like pay attention to me. Maybe he doesn't take care of me. So we're getting ready to go across the ocean, and she's thinking about breaking up. And then we go on the trip. She's like, oh, it was fine. Of course he's going to take care of me. It's great.
That's great. Nice.
There you go. See what happens.
Yes.
What about, Alex, for you, as you guys have really learned how to manage conflict? I'm sure you all have learned how to do this. What's something that you've learned about managing conflict that helps you guys deal with the inevitable? Like we all have conflict. It's going to happen. It's nothing wrong with that. What's helped you guys?
Yeah. The truth of any conflict for me and Megan is that we both want different things in the conflict right away. Oftentimes when conflict comes up, Megan wants to figure out the details and what went wrong, who's at fault, really.
Yeah, because that's important. That works. Who's at fault is always a productive conversation.
It's very productive, but it's also important for her to be able to communicate her intent in the conflict, and she wants to hear my intent in the conflict as well. And so that's what she wants. That's her first priority. And my first priority is almost always like, I want you to just validate what I'm feeling, because I'm feeling so many big emotions, and I honestly don't even know if they're valid. So I'm coming to her saying, like, can you validate me? And she's like, well, my intent wasn't. And then it just like the tensions just explode. And so
into what we call the reactive cycle.
Yes. So something that we've done actually benefited directly from you guys is learning how to basically communicate to her that I would prefer, if we have conflict, if you want me to feel basically chill in the conflict, I need to feel listened to, understood, validated, and empathized with. That love, LUVE kind of ordering.
Yes, love or Louvre talk, whichever one you
yes,
want to go
I
with.
just have communicated this is what
It's
I want to
very
hear.
French, Louvre.
Yes.
Louvre talk. Yeah.
And in my best moments, I can actually put that on the shelf. Her heart is desiring something too. So basically acknowledging both of us have different objectives.
Yeah.
And in the moments where I'm really in need, basically being clear about, this is what I need to hear from you, instead of being all roundabout about it and just like, why don't you say this and why don't you say that? Just saying, I need this from you because I need to know you care about me. And then also when I'm feeling really healthy and maybe I remove myself, write some stuff down, chill, coming back to the conflict, knowing she may not be in the place to give that to me right now, and that's okay. And I can actually give her what she needs to work this out.
Good.
Also, the lesson that conflict will always be really hard, and you're not going to reach the point where it's like, conflict was like really like
so glad
amazing.
We had that
It was as
argument,
good as a
that
date
fight.
night. It was like, it's always going to be rough, and that's okay.
Yeah. And conflict never goes away. That's I will tell my couples when I'm working with couples, the reactive cycle, healthy couples, 1 in 3 times it will go well. And they just kind of look at me like that means 66% of the time conflict isn't going to go well. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's such an opportunity to continue learning and growing and applying the things you're learning about, as you're saying that you have done, which I admire. Grace, so you have learned that you have very different spending habits than your spouse?
Well, she's now a spender,
Well,
so
yes.
you
I
thought
am
you were a saver.
compared to Joseph, but he is excellent with money, and he is such a good steward of the resources. And it has been something, it has been a lesson for me. And hey, maybe I wasn't as good a steward of my resources as I thought I was. But this all came to a head in the most innocuous way with food. We were at the grocery store, and
Yeah, there's never conflict.
he goes to the weekly ad, and he makes his menu off of the weekly ad and
Oh,
what
does
is
he
for
really?
sale. And I think
Good for
it's
him.
one.
Did he
I
shop
just
for
go
us?
with what I'm
What
hungry
do you do?
for.
Yes.
And
Would you loan him out to us?
Yes.
Our personal shopper.
Yes.
And so I'm just putting things in the cart, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And this was early on in the dating process, so we hadn't combined our finances or anything. But he had looked at the weekly ad, and chicken was on sale. I did not know that. So I'm making chicken salad. I'm getting the organic green onions, and I'm going for the chicken. I don't show him what I'm putting in my cart, right? So we get up to the register, the guy's checking us out, and Joseph goes, $14 for chicken? And I am just like color leaves my
You're
face, mortified.
yeah.
I'm like, yes, honey.
Could you say it louder?
But it
please?
opened up this whole door of, okay, because what you spend your money on is where your value is. And so I'm like, my value is on maybe the more nutritional, and he's looking at the sale. And I think there's a good balance there to be struck. But where it was good to learn this early on in our dating with something like food rather than like 20 years down the road, and it's, where are we going to put Nana in the, where is our,
Hey, we're getting there. So I'd love to hear where you're going to put
Is he
Nana,
generous?
because that's what my kids will do. Yeah.
And he is so generous on the one hand, but we had different values. And so I learned that was just something that opened up the door. How we spend our money, was important when we were dating, and it's made it helpful as we make a budget in the early days of marriage.
That's good. And
So
how,
good.
I mean, right, it doesn't matter the topic. It's just we're going to get into conflict and have to figure out how to work through that in a way that feels good to both of us. Ryan, for you guys, what have you learned that's helped you the most around managing conflict?
Well, a big part of it was establishing kind of two things. One, I realized that there is a little boy, Ryan, that doesn't respond well to a very specific type of behavior.
Aaron calls that high school Greg.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and
Or
so
Grand
I realized
Canyon
that.
Yeah.
But the other thing, I don't know, it's stuff that's already been mentioned, but like blame, it just doesn't matter. It's like, well, who set up this silly like Rube Goldberg or whatever it's called machine so that whenever I went in there and was slightly clumsy in the bathroom, 17 things would fall on the floor? I don't know. Does it really matter all that
Doesn't
much?
matter.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It's like, well,
Although it feels like it does, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so one of the things that we've done away with is like just kind of blame, or basically it's either you claim the blame or we just move on. So it's like, ooh, that was my bad, I won't do that. It's like, cool, neat, let's move on. Another thing is, one of the biggest things that we've communicated is just, we're winners and we're trying to win. And that may sound like a little over the top, but when we're having conflict, it's like, okay, it's not you versus me, because that's not a win. If I triumph over you in this argument, well, that's okay, cool. I may feel better. I won't, but maybe I will. And if I always triumph over you in every argument, then I'm always a winner and I've married a loser. So that's great. And it's like, that's not exactly, yeah, that's not how you want to set that up. So it's
Probably
like, okay.
not.
So it's like, okay, so how do we orient ourselves towards, how do we make a win out of this? How do we make this so that on the other side of this, we didn't just have an argument or a conflict and now it's resolved? How are we better? How is the situation better? How are we not going to do X? And once you started doing that as like, hey, once you kind of gamify conflict a little bit, it can actually, I've had some fun conflicts with my wife where we're starting to have an argument and I'm like, hey, so I'm kind of noticing this. And she's like, all right, you're right. Okay. And then we start looking, and now we're suddenly on the same side, because even though it's like, okay, we did this wrong. It's like, okay, but what's the best outcome here that really makes us like come out on top? And now we're both like collaborating, like, all right, let's figure this out. Come on, this could be fun. So I've actually had several fun conflicts that didn't start off as fun. It started off with, okay, first off, why don't you watch the way you're speaking? No, I'm joking. It's never been that.
Yeah, that would work.
Yes.
But yeah,
Probably
Yeah.
not,
that's been a
but
big one.
yeah.
Trying to win, not versus, but trying to win overall. And when it's you and your spouse versus everything else, it can be fun.
Yeah, Marcella, we know that part of that big adjustment during the first few years is just adjusting to all that change and the uncertainty. Maybe we're moving, someone's starting graduate school. What's really helped you guys kind of adjust to all that change?
That's a good question, particularly because me and my husband both hate change. We're one of those people who naturally are like, you mean I have to make an adjustment? Why? So I would not say that this was something that I was strong at the beginning of
It's
our
hard.
relationship. And I think naturally the tendency when you go into a relationship is how can I find the person that is going to make me change the least, which I think was a little bit what I was looking for when I was.
Which would be, I mean, that's a great example of some of these expectations, right? That we bring in, probably unrealistic.
And I think one of the things that I really learned early on is just to have grace for myself and for Noah, that change is not easy. And naturally the season that we're going through, I mean, we're going from being one person to being two united as one, which is such a dramatically different mindset just to have in basically every area of life. And so to turn that around so quickly, you are going to fail. And I think working here at Focus on the Family, I was like, oh, I know everything. You know, I've prayed it all through. I have all the resources, therefore I'm not going to mess it up. And of course, the resources help and the preparation helps and the prayer helps and it all, you know, especially having the right mindset when you do mess up to be able to recover and to learn from it. But there are still things that are going to feel hard when you're sacrificing for someone that you live with for the first time or, you know, you're having to modify your expectations.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that really helped us in preparing for the change is we both went on an extended vacation with each other's family before we got married. And that taught us this is what his expectations for family life are. And these are what my expectations for family life are. And they're actually pretty different because Noah's family, they're all pretty independent of each other. They all kind of do whatever is working for them, and they can kind of, you know, drift in and out of each other's picture pretty easily, kind of doing whatever works for them. And that's how they function. And my family is very, what are you doing? And I'll either do it with you or change your mind kind of situation. Like, let's all kind of build how we function around each other and kind of merge a little bit of our mindset and our plan as we go about our lives. And that became very evident on vacation as his family just kind of, oh, we're here, bye. And my family would get together and be like, okay, so what are we doing today? What's the excursion? What's the plan? Where are we going to eat? And so that was really helpful in preparation, just to have seen that and know that going into our marriage, we would have different expectations for how we would plan our lives.
So much awareness and watching, observing, learning prior to getting married. So Alex, your sweet wife Megan and you have had a baby. And tell me how that's impacted your marriage, but was there anything you guys did prior to getting married that really helped prepare you for becoming a dad?
There's nothing that can prepare you for parenting. Truly. It is I remember thinking very, very deeply about like what happens in, like, we have the baby day one. What if something happens and I just like fail and I just like can't, like, what if something crazy like it was all of these existential like and it's really
it's
just
easy
like
to get into your head around that.
it's easy to get in your head, and you can prepare, yes, but every kid is different, so you just got to learn your kid and work hard. As far as what we did to prepare, we got some books.
None of ours are
none of
I don't know if we have any parenting books.
Oh, we do. That's hurtful, but it's all right.
Yeah.
We forgive you.
Thank you very much. One thing that we really needed to do was find out what would happen with Megan, because she was working here at Focus at the time too, and she loved working here, and she loved being a young professional. And then we're having a baby. So where does that leave us in terms of money, in terms of what happens with you. Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? How does this work? I remember we were chatting about it. We decided that she was going to stay home. We have the baby, and I'm at home one day, and I'm on my computer, and I'm kind of doing some Outlook, office stuff, sending some emails. And Megan looks over at the computer and very inside, she goes, I miss my email. And I'm like,
Which
no,
no
you
one
don't.
has
Yes.
ever
And
uttered
she's like, oh,
ever,
but I
but-
do, because there's you have your task list and you get to check the stuff off. And so she missed that.
If
And so
you've been successful or not.
and with the baby, it's literally 24/7. Just keep this thing alive.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we
That
had
is
to,
success.
in preparation for parenting, it was a lot of conversations with each other about what's important to you and what is not. And what's important to Megan is that she stayed home with Elsie. So that's what we did. And so we had to make decisions for not only our marriage, but also just our whole family now, because now it's not just our marriage. Now there's another little one. Making decisions of where should we live to keep cost in mind? What should I do with my career? Questions like this arose because we wanted to prioritize these things. So lots of conversations about what is important and what's not. And that's mostly how we prepared. Obviously, a lot of parenting books and tips and tricks and how to keep a baby happy. But in terms of our marriage, how did our marriage prepare? Being transparent about what's important to you and how can we make that happen.
And we will joke that marriage will teach you how selfish you are. Parenting will teach you how angry you are because of just the exhaustion. And you talk about all that change and just learning to adjust and the expectations that you've got to figure out. It's like building the plane while you're flying it. It's not like you get to figure it all out ahead of time.
And can I say also, the direct influence from you two on our early parenting journey.
So he feels obligated now. That
I
he's
feel
about
obligated.
not
Yes,
reading one of our
yes.
books.
No.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that there's nothing you can do to prepare to be a parent, because there is. There's amazing podcasts and books that you can read and listen to. One thing that you guys mentioned as a struggle in your marriage was the season of life where you competed, where Greg would come home from work, Erin, you were at home, and you would say, "Who's doing it? Did you do the dishes? Did you
Who's
do
more
the laundry?"
tired?
Let's talk about this
Let's
for a
weigh
while.
this out.
Who's
Yeah.
having the hardest time?
It was typically me was the
Yes.
right answer.
That was the
Erin wasn't
takeaway I
I'm not
heard.
sure about that one. Alex, what do you think? Was it
I
him or
think
was it
this.
me?
Yes, so I
choose your
choose wisely.
response
Yes. I heard you guys talking about that and how fruitless in the long run that was. And there was a situation early on when we were in the first month of having Elsie. And we were, Megan was, obviously up several times during the night to take care of her. Me not being able physically to feed her and comfort her, obviously had to have a very difficult time soothing her and stuff like this. And so these conversations started cropping up where she would say like, well, I had such a hard night. And I'd say, well, I had such a hard time putting her down. And it was just kind of elevating. And I remember referencing you two and saying, Megan, I'm seeing this pattern in this conversation, in our conversations recently, that reminds me of Greg and Erin and how they used to compete. And I see that we're doing that. Can we acknowledge that and maybe pull it back?
Yeah.
And Megan
Glad
was
our
like,
pain
you're
is
so
paid
right.
off
Yes.
for you.
And so
Yeah.
thank you for teaching us that lesson so we didn't have to go down the bad road.
Well, hey, again, I'm glad our failure has made a difference in your life. So
Has been helpful.
Grace, will maybe end with you by, we know the reality is that as we go into marriage, there's three kind of things that we really need to pay attention to. There's the two individuals as well as the relationship. I mean, all three have to matter. How have you guys learned at this stage how to balance kind of your prioritizing not just the relationship, but also that make sure that the individuals are really well cared for? What have you kind of learned at this point on just taking good care of yourself, growing as an individual?
I've learned so much. Like I said, before marriage, I learned so much about myself. And the last 2 months have taught me a lot about myself. And my, like Ryan was talking about, my need to be right. And sacrificing our relationship at the altar of my being right. And I had a wise woman last week talk to me about, she said in 2 Corinthians, I had jotted it down, but 13:11, Paul's talking, he's closing out his letter to the Corinthians, and he says, finally, brothers, rejoice, aim for, restoration, encourage one another, comfort one another, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. And I had jumped so often to seeking that unity, and I was not comforting. I was not, walking in the other rejoicing, because I was so stressed out about the start of this marriage and this has to go really well. Right. So I'm barking and all of these things, and it was causing the wheels were just grinding along. And so I think what we've done is really tried to stay rooted in the Word, because when our marriage is wilting, we know that we are a tree planted by the streams. But taking care of the two is focusing on the Lord is the thing that brings you guys together.
Really good. That's a great reminder.
Marriage is one of those things that I've been looking forward to for like a long time.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was great about getting married is I'm finally no longer in practice mode. I no longer have to say, well, when I get married, then I can finally start making these decisions. The one thing that has crept, this is a verse. It's a verse that has crept up more and more in our marriage, and it really has been vital. And it's in Hebrews 11, and it's talking about faith, and says, in order to please God, you must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Christians, we do really good at we believe that God is. That's kind of the basis of being a Christian. Right. But do you see God as a rewarder? Like that is something that Christians fail to do often. And a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Yes, I'm going to fail. You're going to fail. But here's one thing I know about faith. We're going to believe that God is, and we're going to believe that he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Yeah. So let's diligently seek him, and let's believe that we're going to see the goodness of God in the land of living. We started doing that, and it was incredible. We just started sailing through some stuff because fear just doesn't come in. I'm sure now fear is going to come back in. I'm not trying to. It's not smooth sailing.
But you're
perfect
practicing a habit. You guys are to kind of, to put it in a different way, to treasure hunt, like to believe God is a rewarder. Yeah. How in this hard season or great season, kind of what is he doing to reward us? And I think that's a great habit to get into, because you're training each other, the relationship, your brains to look for that. So that's really good.
Yeah, if you know the end is good and settled before you start, then the middle, no matter how rocky it gets, we're going to get through it, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. Marcella, what about for you? What would you tell the younger you about marriage?
Yeah, I would say don't try to make your marriage better than everyone else's.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that's my tendency a little bit, is to try to learn from other people's mistakes to the extent that I don't have to
set a high bar.
Yeah, we're like trying to compete.
It's pretty hard to be as good as Alex and Megan. But I think I tend to compare my struggles or wins to those around me, and learning to have grace for us and to compare us only to what God has had for us and asked of us is so helpful.
So good.
It's good.
I have a hard time thinking about what I would say, because if I give myself advice, then I wouldn't have to go through the difficulties that made me who I am and the husband I am today, and the marriage relationship we have, because I don't want to remove our struggles, because in a way, when I look back at the struggles that we went through, they made our marriage stronger, and they made it what it is. So I genuinely would.
Can you just submit in this moment? It's hard. Just answer.
Well, what I hear you saying is that you would say to yourself, it's okay that we're going to go through these struggles, because they're going to make us better, and we're going to grow.
Yes. And I by the way, the verse that comes to mind is in Romans 8, where it says, all things work together for the good of those who love him. And not everything is good. There's a lot of bad things. And also, that's not a verse to pop out in the middle of someone mourning something horrible.
Right.
Just because it's true doesn't mean it's timely or kind. It also, the Bible also says you need to weep with those who weep, mourn with those who mourn. But it is true. I can see it in our marriage. It's so true that every weapon formed against us has failed. And every weapon formed against us has caused us, like, God has only let Satan attack us in ways that make our marriage stronger in the end. In the moment, it becomes very difficult, and there's confession of sin and difficult trial and just like enmity and strife. And then as we walk through it, it breeds humility, love in one another, growing in that. And so I truly would just cast a vision about, like, you're going to go through these hard things, and it's just the most amazing experience to go through life with this person. It's not a blessing everyone gets. So take it by the reins and just enjoy it and love it for every second that it is, because it's just going to be the best.
That's good. Grace, what would you say to younger you?
Me 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Don't buy the
Stretch.
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, avoid the organic aisle, please. No, I'm so glad we went through those things. What would I say to younger me? You are so blessed. And you have married such a wonderful, wonderful man. And even if you're walking through the aisles, you repeat to yourself, I have married such a wonderful, wonderful man. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. Thank you, Lord. And just try to have that heart of gratitude every day, because I can get so stuck in the things that go on every day. So
That is exactly
Beautiful.
right. Man, I don't think I could have said it any better than Alex did. How old is that guy? He seems like he's like a 70-year-old, really super wise.
He has an
guy
old soul.
who's like 20-something. Yeah.
I actually was so encouraged and so impressed by all four
Yeah.
individuals because they had depth
Yeah.
and an understanding of scripture and applying it to their young marriage.
Yeah.
And they were also very authentic
Yeah.
with what they each were dealing with, and as well as how they're processing through being married.
Yeah. We work with so many premarital couples, and we love doing that together. You do
Yes.
that on your own. I do that on my own as well. What are kind of your big things that you would want to accomplish with a premarital couple to get them ready to wed?
One of the biggest things that comes to mind right away is I always have my premarital couples take a assessment.
Yeah.
Often
good.
the couples checkup for premarital couples. And it really gives us an idea then of where are their strengths, where are their growth areas, where do we need to hone in on throughout our time together doing premarital counseling. But one of the things I love too within that assessment is it gives a personality assessment within it. So it shows like how are they the same and how are they different?
Yeah.
Because as we know, the differences are going to come out eventually. And often that's where conflict can begin because we get irritated with those very things that we once loved about each other. Eventually they can become sources of conflict. So thus, the assessment tells us a whole lot, but I always equip them with the tools to manage conflict in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of, in some ways, you're advocating for knowledge and skills. Keep learning about who you are, so the personality differences and all those differences, and keep learning by asking each other just important questions, because we all have these expectations. Most of those expectations are unknown because maybe we're not aware of them, but the more we can ask good questions to each other, the more it begins to get at some of those things then that we expect, and they can work it out and talk them through and make it realistic by saying, oh, okay, you want this. Oh, I can do that, or let me adjust that a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how you make an expectation realistic. So I like that. Knowledge and skills being then how do you manage conflict. And how do you proactively keep current with each other? Because right when we get married and just start doing life, it's easy to begin to drift because we get busy working and friends and maybe starting to have kids. I mean, all that stuff that usually causes the drift in a relationship. So how do we make sure that we're really staying on top of that by going, hey, every day, I want to keep growing, learning about you. I want to keep updated. And we do that, right? We've talked about this a million times, but high and low. What was the high of your day? What was the low of your day?
Yeah.
And that helps us stay current with each other.
And I would say, too, one of the goals of premarital counseling is to create an environment that the couple is willing to come back to if they hit, it's when they hit difficulties or challenges or rough spots. I just had a couple that I did their premarital over a year ago, and they came back in last week to talk about just some hard stuff. And they came in and we talked about it because they knew they could. And then they walked out and they're like, we'll check in with you in like 3 months, because now they're having a baby. And so they're pregnant and they're working through some of those changes to their relationship. And so they're like, I think we're good. And so really just coming in and checking in is so helpful, especially through that first year.
Man, I tell you, just after listening to our panel, these youngins, as we'll call them, they're so smart. I hate even to ask you, but do you think that they're way ahead of where we were when we got married?
1,000%.
Yes.
I love how committed this generation is to digging in, learning about themselves, becoming self-aware, as well as just the knowledge they have about marriage.
Yeah.
And the knowledge they learn about their fiance before they get married.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they walk into marriage, at least these guys walked into marriage a whole lot more equipped than we did, and
Yeah.
way more self-aware and way more mature than we were.
Yeah.
What was wrong with us?
Well, was it us or...
Oh, or was it you?
We'll let you vote. Who do you think it was? Was it more Erin or more Greg?
Actually, it was
Probably
both of us.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. I love how hopeful and passionate they are. And if you know a couple who is marriage minded or maybe engaged already, you may want to look into the Ready to Wed resource that we've put together with leading Christian experts in each of their fields.
Yeah, and there's really a couple ways that you can get this. So we have a book where we're discussing all of the things that we're talking about today, but there are 12 kind of traits that the research says, boy, if you skill-wise, if you understand these and can apply these, man, it makes such a big difference. So we tapped into some of our favorite experts like Ted Cunningham, Dr. Scott Stanley, Dr. John Trent, Bill and Pam Farrell, and lots of others. So you can get that book, but there's also a premarital counseling kit that you can pick up as well. And this includes video content. If you'd like to lead a small group of premarital, this is what we do at our church, or if you want to work one-on-one with another premarital couple.
So this is a resource that would make a great engagement gift or even a wedding gift too. We can send you the book Ready to Wed for a gift of any amount. And when you reach out to us, remember that everything above and beyond the cost of the book that you donate goes directly to supporting this program in the ministry of Focus on the Family.
Yeah, because we've heard from listeners all over the world that have benefited from this information that we talk about each week, and you can be a part of helping couples learn what needs to be done to keep a marriage strong simply by your giving. So we want to say thanks in advance. We so appreciate that you want to be a part of our podcast family, and all you have to do is click on the show notes to support this outreach, and you'll get your very own copy of Ready to Wed. And now it's time for a brand new game show. Cue the applause, Erin. This should be hearing something. Things you didn't think would happen. And Erin, you're going to be my Vanna White.
Ooh, I like that. That's kind of fun. Marriage is full of surprises, and many people have expectations that are shaped by the movies, social media, and well-meaning advice from people who leave out the gritty, growth-filled moments.
Yeah, we're going to give you some things to remember. So let's start with love in marriage isn't a constant emotional high, which, some days you feel incredibly connected like we do. Others, we might feel distance, that drift is taking place. Maybe we're annoyed. We always say, man, we love each other, but some days we don't like each other. For me, that reality, if we expect that marriage is going to be that constant high, then we're going to be very disappointed because, that's what I love thinking about marriage as a journey. And here we live in Colorado Springs, so, the beautiful mountains that we get to stare at every day, Pikes Peak being one of those, a 14,000-foot mountain. We've hiked a lot of those 14,000-foot peaks together, and some alone or with our kids. When you start off and you're having fun, lower altitude, and you're singing, laughing, talking next to this beautiful little creek, whatever. And then as you start to get, higher, more altitude, it gets harder. The terrain can change. There's just the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, I hate, right? This is my pet peeve. When we're watching a show, a movie, and someone says, I just want you to be happy. It's just, that's not life. Life is a journey, highs, lows, good, bad, all of it together. And I want to embrace every bit of it. How do we enjoy the highs? How do we manage and deal with the lows? When we climb a mountain, the higher you get, there's less vegetation. You're just a bunch of rocks at the very top. Because the way God designed life, the growth doesn't happen at those mountaintop in those highs. Growth happens in the valley.
Right.
And we get to walk through those hard times and learn and grow, and all of it's good.
Yes. And back to Vanna White, the category being things you didn't think would happen in your marriage. One of them is that you didn't maybe think that the person you're marrying will change.
Right.
Change physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, as well as you will change. In a previous episode, we talked a lot about change and how we all change, and it's part of the journey that we grow through different seasons. We might mature, or we might change, like we age physically and gain weight, lose hair, get wrinkles, all those things.
You're always going back to the losing.
But of course,
hair.
if I'm Vanna White, I'm looking pretty good, even as I've aged.
Apparently,
So-
you're saying I'm going bald, so that's yeah.
We just tease Greg about that, by the way.
And we,
He's
who's
not.
the we? I know
me and
you
the kids.
do.
We always say,
Oh.
Dad, look at that bald spot on the back. And you're like, what? It's not there.
You know,
But
as
we
one
like
of
to
our
tell him.
listeners who are dealing with this, have dealt with it, would you just write in how hurtful this is to Erin, so maybe she can gain some more empathy? around
Empathy.
this?
Yes. Compassion.
If you adopt that attitude that one lifetime isn't long enough to truly get to know someone,
Right.
because they're always changing, what it can do then is drive what we would say is one of the most important, core values to have in a marriage, which is curiosity. Is a commitment that I'm going to be curious because I know you're changing. I want to keep growing, learning, understanding who you are. Any given day, week, month. I mean, let's stay on top of that.
Yeah. What's another one?
Yeah. How about this one? Conflict isn't a sign of failure, but avoidance is.
Ooh.
Because I know early on, I am a conflict avoider. Yeah, I would rather just be chill with you, peaceful with you. Let's just have fun. And so I worked so hard anytime there was a conflict to move you beyond that, so that we were back to that peaceful, chill that I was hoping for. But now I get, if we avoid conflict, we miss out on a beautiful opportunity. I love James 1:2 says, when trials come your way, so something like a trial, like a conflict, comes your way, consider it to be an opportunity. I learned something about you, maybe about our marriage or even me. And that's the opportunity, the knowledge, learning something new. And so that I just have to remind myself that, hey, there's value here. I'm going to learn something. Hang in there. We'll get through this. Like I have to talk myself off the conflict ledge just to say, we're going to be all right. Erin and I will get through this. She loves you. I love her. We'll make it. And I get to learn something.
And a few others that you might have been shocked by in marriage. Your sex life will ebb and flow depending on stress, age, and feeling emotionally safe. Another one is your spouse can't meet all of your emotional needs. And one last one, marriage will expose your emotional triggers. And so we just want to encourage you as a couple, sit and talk about these. How have these shown up in your marriage? How surprised were you when they did? How have you guys managed them together? And so just a great opportunity to talk about the things you didn't think would happen in your marriage.
Well, let's move on to our weekly Q&A.
Today's question is an email from Jessica, who writes, Dear Greg and Erin, I grew up in a home where emotions were considered an idiotic waste of time and were immediately dismissed and ridiculed as weakness. This led to a family life of extreme chaos and conflict. My father is controlling and critical. He habitually cussed me out for things I had done, both real and imagined. Needless to say, the thought of marriage frightens me deeply. I don't want to bring unaddressed emotional baggage into a relationship, but I also don't want my life to be dictated by trauma. I've read some great books, Townsend and Cloud, Don Colbert, and Gary Thomas, but what else can I do to learn more about emotions to be better prepared for marriage?
Yeah, what a great question.
Such a great question, Jessica.
Anytime that you become aware of some harmful patterns from your upbringing or family of origin, just wanting to break those, man, it's so remarkable, so courageous. We just encourage you, always think that way, because I think, Jessica, first and foremost, if you maintain this attitude of, I just want to keep learning and growing, becoming more like Christ, that the whole area of sanctification, that's what we're being called to as individuals, is I'm on this journey. between me and the Lord. I want to keep growing, understanding trauma, tough things from my family of origin, baggage, all that I'm bringing in. Don't think, though, that somehow you're going to arrive at this, okay, I've managed all that, I'm ready to get married. Just become more aware, like you're saying. One area that you're talking about is around emotions. Okay, great. Keep growing. God's bringing this to your mind because I would think, I mean, I'm not speaking for God, but it's almost like he's saying, okay, Jessica, you're ready now to deal with this piece.
Yes.
And that's a great thing to do before you get married.
Yes. And I agree with you, Greg, that we don't ever deal with everything once and for all. And it's so true that I always say, as things come to awareness or to mind, that in oftentimes people will say, oh, I dealt with that. And I always say, well, it comes up again because God knows you're ready to go to a deeper level or to gain a new understanding about whatever it was. And so I so admire, Jessica, that you're wanting to become more self-aware and break some of these generational patterns that have been handed down to you through your family of origin. We all have them. I continue to dig into this stuff in my personal therapy and my personal processing and learning and growing about how is this showing up now and why is it showing up now? What is it that I have the opportunity to learn and grow from? So I one of the best ways, and I know this seems it's not the only way, but I would say if you want the biggest bang for your buck, seek counseling with a licensed Christian counselor. It's a financial investment, but it's worth it. And you can find individual Christian counselors that maybe take your health insurance or have a sliding scale, whatever it is, that it's worth the financial investment to have that safe place that you can go in and explore these things that are painful from the past.
Call us 800-A-FAMILY and talk to one of our specialists who can recommend a counselor in your area that we've vetted already. So there's great help available. I know for me, when I got married, I didn't understand emotions. I was so prideful in my ability to be logical and to fix things and move towards solutions. Why are we spending all this time talking about feelings and blah, blah, blah? I would encourage you, Jessica, as you're growing around your emotions, is one, to recognize how valuable they are because God made them. Man, read through Psalms. Listen to all the emotions that King David, this is King David, what he talks about, and just see how vast those emotions are. God has them. Jesus has them. I had to get a feelings list and
that used to be just the little magnet thing up on the fridge, and you would move the little square from face to face.
Just to practice, just because I didn't have a good emotional vocabulary, and that really helped me to be able to look at that list. I always tease you about this, but I think it's a great skill because you keep an emotions wheel at our dinner table. That's all just helping to train my emotional vocabulary because I want to be able to take notice throughout the day. What is going on in my heart? How am I feeling? What emotion would I put to that? So, Jessica, that's a big part of how you grow.
Jessica, I would encourage you to surround yourself with others that are on the same journey, because you can always find a friend who is also processing what they walked away from their family of origin with, both positive as well as patterns that they want to break. How did it impact them? And with that safe support network, express feelings and see how it goes. Get feedback from your safe friends who are also learning and growing, because we are all on that journey.
Jessica, we love you. We're proud of you. You're on a fantastic journey to really make that emotional part of who you are more pronounced and more connected and aware. So keep your eye out for your copy of our book, Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
If you'd like us to answer your question, click the link on the show notes where it says engage with us. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you for joining us on Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
Yes, thank you for following the show and sharing it with your friends and family. We want you to have a seat at the table every week as we help equip you and your spouse to have a lifelong, satisfying marriage.
Yeah, we want to see you guys growing spiritually together, but also as individuals.
So you can turn right around and invest in other couples to help them build thriving marriages.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you again next Monday about this crazy little thing called marriage.